Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Reynolds Outdoors. Today we are in my shop, which is Alexander Armory. Yes, this is a little bit different scenery, I know, and going forward, just kind of do an update on the channel before we get into the topic of today's video. So I'm going to be doing a lot of videos in here, still going to be doing videos for the channel, but this is going to be just a new area for me to do videos. It's going to help, you know, with just logistics of doing this, and I'll get to do a little bit more, give you guys a little bit more content, and I'm going to be doing some shooting videos as well. So we're going to not only talk about guns and the specs and take them apart and get a better understanding of how they work and operate, we're also going to see how they perform with putting rounds through them. Yes, very excited. I've been saying I was going to do this for a while, and it is happening. So as you can see in the title, this is part one. So what this is going to be is a three-part series, little mini-series of the Beretta A400 compared directly to the Benelli SBEIII. So we are going, so I've done videos on both of these. 6 years ago on the Benelli, I believe, and 5 years ago I did a countertop style overview, like all the videos have been on the Beretta. So I'm going to go a little bit, I'm going to do that same type of video, but I'm going to go a little bit further on each of them. I'm going to disassemble each gun and just kind of give you guys an idea of what it's like owning and operating these shotguns. I'm going to explain all the features, you know, about the barrels, the actions, how they operate, all that good stuff. Just basically what you can find on their websites and all the information that's available. I do have some cheat sheets here directly from the manufacturer's website, so it's all their information, and I've, you know, tried to do as much of the homework for you guys as I can so I don't leave anything out. And I know you've heard a lot of these, you know, buzzwords like Stelium barrels and cryo systems and all that stuff, and it sounds cool, but what does it mean? So I'm going to try my best to explain all that and not make these videos go on for, you know, over an hour. So with all that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and get into this. We're going to start with the Benelli SBE3 or Super Black Eagle 3. Alright, come on. So part one is going to be on the Benelli, and part two, just to be clear, is going to be on the Beretta, and part three is going to be the, you know, the one I'm most excited for is actually seeing these guns in action. And again, guys, I am doing this, you know, purely to help you guys. Maybe you're stuck between these two shotguns, you're not sure which way you want to go, you know, you've heard all the cool things about them, but you really want to see a more in-depth review or overview or demonstration, explanation, all that stuff about each one of these shotguns, and actually understand what all these buzzwords, all these words they're putting out there like cryo and Stelium, what all that means. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to start here at the barrel, and we're going to work our way back, and the guns have already been checked, they are safe. So safety first, guys. So the chokes, yes, cryo chokes, comes with 2 extended chokes and 3 flush fitting chokes. Modified, improved cylinder are extended, and full, improved, modified, and cylinder are flush fitting. So that's, you get all the basic chokes with the shotgun. I know most of you that turkey hunt and duck hunt, you know, you may have your own favorite brand, but well, turkey hunting, you definitely want to get a turkey hunting choke, because full's just not quite tight enough. So, but I highly recommend you go out and pattern the, you know, extended chokes you have. Just see how they do before you rush out and buy something for waterfowl or dove or whatever. Just see how they work, because they might, you know, they might be good enough, or might surprise you too. But yeah, I like the extended chokes. Very easy to remove and snug up. You know, you don't need to tighten these with a choke wrench. Do not tighten them with a choke wrench. I'm gonna say it again. But the only time you really need to use your choke wrench is if the choke is kind of seized up a little bit. Try to work it out. If it's not, if it's completely frozen in there, you know, just stop. Don't continue to try to. You'll just damage the choke and possibly the barrel. You know, contact your local gun shop if they offer any kind of gunsmithing services, and I would highly recommend you take it to them. So Moving on back from the chokes, you got the red fiber optic front sight, very nice. No mid bead on the Super Black Eagle 3. I personally, I don't really have a huge preference. I've mostly shot shotguns without a mid bead, but if you have it and you love it, or you think you need it, I mean, you know why you need a mid bead. So if that matters to you, it doesn't really make that big a difference to me. But Stellium cryo barrel. So the cryo barrel is a very, very good barrel. So they're all cold hammer forged, but the reason that they do the cryo treatment on these barrels is, and I got notes here, so I don't want to screw any of this up. You get a denser pattern, 13.2% more pellets on target, you know, with the cryo treatment versus, I guess, versus without the cryo treatment. So how does that work? So that relieves, so they freeze the barrel to -300 degrees when they're cryo treating it, and it also relieves stresses caused by the hammer forging. You get smoother, uniformed surfaces in the barrel, which will pattern better, stays cleaner longer, and also there's less resistance against wads and shot. So very good process when they're, you know, manufacturing these barrels. So rest assured, when you're spending, you know, your hard-earned money, if you decide to go with a Benelli SBE3, you know, you're getting a very, very good barrel. So, all right, moving on down to the magazine cap. On the SBE3s, you know, when they came out with that, they redesigned the mag cap. They gave it this, I believe they call it the effortless mag cap, but it has like these tri-lug grip to it, so you got a little bit easier to get a purchase on it, and to, you know, loosen the magazine cap and to tighten it. So you want to make sure, you know, those mag caps are tight, no play or movement in the barrel. And if you've been shooting it for a long time, haven't taken it apart, you know, you're able to get a good grip to remove that mag cap. Now, the handguard on the SBE3, it's got a nice pattern, almost like a stippling checker pattern. Now, one big pro about Benellis to a lot of people, and again, this comes down to personal, you know, preference as well, but there's no gas system, because it's an inertia shotgun, and we've talked about that before, the difference between inertia and gas. Now, there's no spring, no gas system, nothing in here. The only thing that's underneath here is the magazine tube, and of course the mag springs inside there. Your main buffer spring, action spring, recoil spring, whatever you prefer to call it, is located here in the stock, and we'll get to that in a moment, and I'll show you how all that comes out. But the design of the Benelli, you know, having that spring located in the stock and no gas systems up front, gives you a nice slim 4-inch, really nice. A lot of people love that, and it gives it a good balanced feel. And the gun's pretty light too, so very simple design. Most inertia guns there's just fewer moving parts. You don't have to worry about any gas systems, so it'll run for a long time, versus, you know, a gas gun where, you know, well, I guess older gas guns, the more modern ones, they don't require as much maintenance as people need, but they will require, you know, in theory, you'll have to clean a gas gun before you would just under normal, you know, conditions, under normal use, just firing, keeping it out of, you know, mud and stuff. But if you do drop this thing in a mud hole and it gets completely submerged in water and stuff, it's a good idea to go ahead and take her all the way down and make sure everything's cleaned up nice, and you don't want to have problems later. So moving on down to the receiver, I'll talk about the bolt. So what they did with the bolt, you know, going from the SBE2 to the SBE3. So the Benelli click, some of you may have heard of that, some of you may have experienced it, and it's not great, especially for turkey hunters who have the bird of a lifetime in front of them, and you know, the bolt got knocked just slightly out of battery, and that's what that looks like when it's just slightly out of battery, but well, see how easily it goes in now. So that's kind of what I was going to try to show. If that in the SBE2s and in the M2s and Frankies, the older model Frankies, you could not push that bolt forward if it came slightly out of battery. So that would, I'm gonna fall. So that would cause a click no bang. So the only way you would be able to close it completely is what I just did there. But now it's been redesigned, reworked, so you can easily push it back into battery. And just make sure when you settle in wherever you are, just give that a good push, you know, kind of like you would on a forward assist on an AR, and you can rest assured that your bolt is completely in battery, seated properly. So awesome that they fixed that. Now let's talk about the controls. So they did add a little bit larger charging handle. They flared it out a little bit, I believe, versus I haven't seen an SBE2 in a while, but I do believe they enhanced the charging handle a little bit. Now I know for a fact they redesigned the bolt release. As you can see, it's a little bit longer as opposed to the smaller button on the previous model. So that is nice. If you got gloves on, it'd be a little bit easier to, you know, manipulate the controls there, and you're not going to be hunting around for it. So, but as far as operation goes, you know, they didn't change really anything. The gun, you still got to hit that little button right there to allow a shell to go into the carrier, or if it's empty, it just locks the bolt back to the rear. And I'll do more in the third video and kind of give you guys examples of why I really like that feature on Benelli's, Beretta, Stokers, a lot of Frankies, a lot of shotguns do that, and why I like it and why it's a good thing. They did redesign the carrier, and the trigger guard. They made it a little bit easier to get shells in there. They widened it up a little bit, did a little bit of beveling, so you can load shells a lot easier into the magazine tube. And they did enlarge the safety, crossbolt safety, and it is behind the trigger guard. And you can reverse the safety if you're a left-handed shooter, and it's pretty easy to do. It doesn't require a whole bunch of gunsmithing knowledge or skill to do that. So very user-friendly gun. Now let's go back here to the shim. So right where the stock meets the receiver, right in here, you have shims. So I have the box with me. What it becomes included. It's got there's your other chokes, your other extended, and your 3 flush, and it also has these shims here to change. You can change the point of impact. If your shells are if your shot's patterning too high, you want to bring it on down and change out the shims. And it has, let's see, there's one in the stock now, and you've got 3 other shims, so you can really fit this gun to you. And that's huge for turkey hunters, because we used to get a lot of turkey hunters that would come in and they'd complain that, you know, the gun's shooting too high. They thought something was wrong. They wanted to send it back. Like, no, we'll just change out the shims for you, then go repattern the gun. So they do include the shims, and you can change the cast in the gun. That metal piece is inside the stock. I'll show you that in just a little bit. Alright, so let's go back to, oh wait, I forgot one thing. On the receiver, it is drilled and tapped, so you can knock these little plugs out and mount a rail to it if you want to install a red dot. Also, for turkey hunters, that's typically who installs red dots on these guns. So if you want to leave the shim that's in it, you like it shooting high for waterfowl, but you want to, you know, be able to put a red dot on there and not have to change out shims all the time, then you definitely have that option. So now we can move on back to the stock. So they've upgraded from the SBE2s to the 3s, the Comfort Tech stock. So this is the Comfort Tech 3. It has a little bit more padding here in the cheek, so it's not gonna, you know, when you are shooting those big heavy, you know, goose busters or turkey loads or whatever, I'm trying to break my light there, it's not gonna beat you up too bad. So it's got a nice soft cheek piece, and it still has those rubber chevrons in the stock there, so that does help buffer some of that felt recoil. And of course, it has a nice recoil pad here on the end with no screws. It just peels right off, so that's nice, and it's pretty simple to get off, and I'll show you in just a sec. Now what I want to do is take the gun apart and just show you how difficult it is or how easy it is, depending on your your expertise on disassembling shotguns. What if you let's just say this thing is completely nasty, you dropped it in the mud, you've been hunting with it several seasons in the nastiest places possible, and you need to get this thing apart and want to do a complete detailed cleaning on it. So of course you check, make sure it's unloaded, which we have done. Let's go ahead and remove this magazine cap. And I'll go ahead and pull the it makes it a little bit easier if you go ahead and pluck the charging handle out. Just pulls right out. Then barrel, handguard comes off. Be careful, that bolt can fly out of there. So it comes off just like so. And then your bolt, just pull that right out the front there, no problem. Now let's get the trigger group out. Let's see if I can do this without having to use tools. I will have to use tools when I get to this, to the spring in the stock, but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just got a nice push pin right here. It's nice to have gunsmithing screwdrivers and tools, makes things a lot easier. Now it does have one takedown pin which I have removed. Then you simply remove the trigger assembly. Now do not take this apart any further. You do not need to do that for just simple cleaning. You can carefully, put your thumb over the hammer, and you can release the trigger right there. You can clean out any debris that you might have stuck down in there. And don't load this thing up with a whole bunch of oil. It's just not necessary, because you'll have a whole bunch of stuff sticking to it. Now you can take the spring out of the magazine tube if you need to, but for most of the time you don't have to, unless you drop this thing, like I said, in a mud hole. But having some good snap ring pliers will help you tremendously, because if you can still focus, that's what I would use to pluck these things out. I mean, if you don't have snap ring pliers, you can kind of take a flathead and carefully remove that, but I'd recommend using snap ring pliers. That way you don't damage anything. But alright, so now we're going to remove the butt pad. So you just kind of get it started, pulls right out, no problem. Now that's where we got to break out the tools, because you got some hardware in here you got to remove. And I should have all that ready to go. Yes. So you can do this without a vise. It is possible. If you got your tools with you on a hunting trip, and you gotta do some quick work to it, take it apart, get it cleaned up. You dropped it in a mud hole. But since I have a vise right here, I am going to use it. All right. So go ahead and start getting this loose, and then I'll show you. Well, before I take that off, I won't pull it out, but I'll show you what's in there. This little plate. It comes with another one. It has a cast plate in there right now. So however you want to orient this, if you want to change the cast of the gun, your left, where the shot impacts left and right, you can change that in there. And if it's shooting a little bit left or right, or you want to set it up for left-handed shooter. But most right-handed shooters really don't have any issues or ever want that changed. The one thing we ever really get requests to do is to change the to change out the shims, because the Benellis are impacting a little high. But again, that's normal. Alright, so there's a little washer in there. So you don't want to lose that. We got a little tray right there to keep parts in so I don't lose them. Alright, now you can see here we have the buffer tube and the spring in there, so you will need a wrench. There's a flat spot on both sides or two flat spots. You can take a wrench and remove this. I'm trying to do this. I'm doing this kind of fast. I know maybe some of you are like, man, I'm trying to see how you do that, but really the idea is just to show you guys, how much time it can take. But results may vary. So remember, I've taken these guns apart a lot. I mean, oh man, so many times. So yeah, it's, you know, I've been in this industry, in the firearm business, for about 10 years now. So done this quite a bit, had a lot of reps. So you want to be careful, keep some pressure on it, kind of stay behind it, and it, you know, wear glasses too. I know I should be wearing some glasses, safety glasses, while doing this, but I didn't. Now I'll show you. I've removed the spring, and that was what was retaining the spring, and the nut locked the stock on to those threads right there. So I'll just set that to the side, don't lose that, and then buffer comes out. So alright, that's it. And here's your shims, the shim that's in it right there. You just take these off if you want to change out the shims, change point of impact, or how if it's patterning high, you can change it out and make it pattern where you want it to. So get the desired effect. Let's see. Yep, and there was the spring that I removed. And we'll clean all that up and reassemble it. Oh, and here, this is the bolt. So the last thing I have to do is disassemble the bolt. So there is a little pin right here that's retaining the firing pin, and you want to keep your thumb back here because you don't want your firing pin to go flying. You can remove all this without tools, which is nice. Set that right there in your tray so you don't lose it, and carefully remove the firing pin. And there's the firing pin and spring. Set that in there, and now you got this little cam pin. It's just, it just falls right out and use gravity. Now I'll also put that in my tray, and then the bolt comes out, and you have your inertia spring in there, and there's a little detent that kind of holds it in there so it doesn't come flying out. So you kind of got to get your finger in there and hold your mouth just right, and boom. And that is how far you need to take this gun apart just for regular, like for, you know, like detail cleaning, like if you dropped it in the mud. And the good news is, guys, if this freaks you out, it's like, man, that's a lot, I don't want to do all that. Well, good news is it's a Benelli. It's an inertia gun. It can go for a long time and without cleaning. Now if you're duck hunting and you get out there and drop it in the mud, like I was saying, this is something I recommend you do right after that fact, because you don't want that stuff to sit in there and start causing problems. But that is just about everything I can think of to, you know, go over with on the Benelli SBEIII. I'm going to clean all this and get it, you know, just add a little bit of oil where if needed. That way when we get to the part 3, the final video, both guns will be very clean, and so that way there's no question of if there is a malfunction. I don't want it to be because, you know, I didn't clean the guns ahead of time and one had an advantage over the other. So I'm going to clean these up and reassemble it, but the part 2, which will be, you know, the next video, we'll be doing the same thing with the Beretta A400 Xtreme Plus. So very excited, guys. So tell me what you think. Are you in the boat, or are you in the same boat I was at one point, or a lot of people are trying to decide which one you want to go with? I know this is just part 1. Some of you want to see all 3 videos before you leave a comment. But if you've already gone with one of these, or you own one, give me your thoughts. Tell me why you like one versus the other. If you left one to go to the other, tell me why. Just give me your thoughts. And again, I'm gonna have 2 guys helping me. There's gonna be 3 of us out here doing tests with these shotguns. I just want to get 3 different opinions. And they all have their own, well, I don't know if they have particular, I think they both like Benellis a little bit more, so I kind of wanted, opposing opinions to mine. So I'm really excited to see what happens. All right, guys. Well, again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for this, all you guys that subscribe. We're over 4,000 subscribers now. It's really awesome. I really appreciate it. Please comment, like. If you're new to the channel, go watch the other videos, and please subscribe. Really, it just helps us out tremendously and lets us know that, you know, people like what we're doing, and we'll keep doing it, and we'll keep getting better. As always, guys, we thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you back for part 2.